Users of Reddit, what's the dumbest myth people today believe? There are dumber ones out there, but the one I, as an estate lawyer, deal with constantly is the idea that there needs to be a reading of the will, where the family all gather and the lawyer reads it aloud to them for the first time. We don't do that, we just mail everyone their own copy if they want it. It's a really stubbornly persistent one because people continue to see scenes of it in movies and TV shows, where it's used for some big dramatic reveal. I've even had irate beneficiaries insist that the administration of the estate can't be official until there's a reading. Way back, like 150 years ago or so, I believe we used to do something like that at times because you couldn't exactly presume literacy on the part of the beneficiaries, but now we feel it's a pretty safe bet that you can either read it or find someone who can. They'd also do it because everyone was already together and it was easier than trying to communicate by horse-drawn mail. Horses are notoriously terrible at drawing, so that was really a bad way of handling it. Fish only have a 5 seconds memory. My fish are fed automatically on a timer and they know dinner time better than my goddamn cat. That's because the cat is busy daydreaming about eating your fishes. Goldfish memory span has been proven to be closer to 3 months. Better memory than me. I remember the myth that gum takes 7 years to fully pass through your digestive system. That takes me back to being 5 years old again. I think that was just a mom tactic to keep you from constantly swallowing your gum. My 6-year-old daughter accidentally swallowed some gum a couple months ago. She excitedly told me when she saw it come out into the toilet later. She knows the truth. You have to wait 48 hours to report someone missing. This one's downright harmful. I told my girlfriend this last week. For some strange reason she still believed the myth. Then painstakingly went through all of the steps that I would go through if I thought she was missing. All those steps would happen in far less than 12 hours of her not checking back in. Just a couple weeks ago my wife and I reported my missing Mill who has dementia to the police after she was missing for only 3 hours. It was just getting dark and was around 40 degrees with temps dropping. Honestly, I expected to be brushed off and not taken seriously. Instead, a full search and rescue was initiated rather quickly with a plane, drones, a K9 unit and several dozen people on foot, reporting on social media and a text sent to everyone in the area, and who knows what else. She was found several hours later, miles away, by a good Samaritan who called the police and they were able to match up the description on our missing persons report. She'd crossed county lines by foot but the counties were able to easily make the connection. So yeah, lesson learned. You don't have to wait. I felt silly for calling but it made a big difference to getting her home safely. I work as a 911 dispatcher, so I have a bit more insight. For anyone with mental illness, they are on the move right away. Aviation, dogs, the whole shebang. Juvenile? Same thing. The younger the faster. If someone calls and says, "My son hasn't texted me in 3 days. He's 40. Just unlike him, not to text." We won't send someone to you for a report. We'll do a wellness check on his address, but your son is allowed not to text you. That Einstein failed his grade school math class. It was the subject of a Ripley's Believe It or Not column in 1935 and Einstein himself refuted the article. In primary school he had been at the top of class and by 15 he had mastered differential and integral calculus. If I recall correctly it had to do with him moving between schools and one graded students from 1 to 6 and the other graded in the reverse, from 6 to 1. So someone at some point mixed something up and thought Einstein failed class even though in reality he had a perfect grade. That's the difference when you move from Germany, 1 equals best, 6 equals fail, to Switzerland, 1 equals fail, 6 equals best. A German 1 is a Swiss 6 in school. She's a Swiss 1 but she's a German 6. When I had cancer a few years back and was doing chemotherapy, I had people who constantly questioned that I actually had cancer due to the fact that my hair didn't fall out until I was actually in remission. Had been off chemo for about 2 to 3 weeks when my hair started gradually thinning and falling out. It's a complete myth that every single person's hair will have the same reaction to chemo. Some people lose hair right away, some don't. Everybody is different. There were people who accused my wife of lying about her lymphoma because she didn't look sick. You don't look sick. You don't look like an idiot, yet here you are, opening your mouth and proving me wrong. I prefer you don't look like a doctor. Many people still believe hymens are like plastic food seals that cover up the hole and get popped when you have sex for the first time, and if a girl doesn't bleed she's not a virgin. Yep, it's a dumb one, it's just a thin piece of tissue. It can tear from things that aren't sex, and can heal as well, and some women just never had one. So you can have a woman who's a virgin whose hymen has been torn, and a woman who's taken a break from having almost daily sex whose hymen is entirely intact. Semi-related fun fact, the vagina can completely grow shut. It happens in young infants when the skin of the labia is damaged, which isn't difficult seeing how thin and fragile the skin there is. Had a friend whose daughter was born like that, it opened back up when she grew. My kid had it grow shut after a diaper rash. My GP had never seen it before, so I had to explain it to her. He got referred to a pediatrician. We opted not to wait it out, so we got a topical eczema creme which has skin thinning as a side effect. Put it on until the skin was open again, then Vaseline on it to prevent it from growing shut again. Vulvas are weird. Be sure to subscribe so that more relaxing and interesting Reddit videos will show up in your feed. Thanks for watching, enjoyed the rest of the video. That magnetic jewelry, healing will cure just about anything. A dude named Mesmer the 1780 came up with the idea, and it have been debunked many times, yet it's still a billion-dollar industry. Fun fact, the word mesmerized is related to him. I've got to constantly tell people that my cool magnetic bracelet isn't for healing or anything. I'm a seamstress, and it holds my pins, but that always gets forgotten about because, did you know those can align your spiritual energies? Like, aligning my pins and needles isn't cool enough. See also homeopathy, something debunked 100 years ago but still persists. It's the idea that water molecules carry the memory of things they touch and you can be cured of any health ailment by being exposed to what made you sick. So they take like some bacteria or a virus. Mix it in water, dilute it like 1,000 times until you're left with just water. Then give you the water as medicine and say you're cured. It goes against everything we know about chemistry and biology. That you eat spiders in your sleep. Spider will not knowingly walk into a predator's mouth. They can sense both the heartbeat, heat and noise from humans. All things that would alert them not to go into our mouth. I kinda needs this to be true. I blame my weight on the copious amounts of spiders I'm ingesting every night. We found spiders, George. Average person eats 3 spiders a year. Factoid, actually just statistical error. Average person eats 0 spiders per year. Spiders. Georg, who lives in cave and eats over 10,000 each day, is an outlier and should not have been counted. Had to explain to a grown-ass adult that blood isn't blue inside the body and red once it hits oxygen because blood already carries oxygen. Red blood is iron-based, blue blood is copper-based. Offhand, the only organism I can think of with blue blood is a horseshoe crab. Octopus blood is blue too. Horseshoe crab blood is worth good money. It's harvested for use in medicine. Had a cab driver insisting that the reactor meltdown at Fukushima was a failed Chinese attack on the US. The plan was to superheat the rods so they'd burn into the ground, through the center of the earth, and come out in America and irradiate it. Amazing. There's a lot to unpack in that, but the one that stands out is if it sinks to the center of the earth, how the hell is it going to sink upward again? By the time it gets to the middle, it has enough momentum to keep it going. Duh. I love how the rods are so hot they burn through the superheated core of the earth. Halloween candy is commonly laced with drugs or razor blades. No one, and I mean no one, is giving their drugs to your 8-year-old for free. Those damn DRE officers lied to me. There was once a parody Dare shirt that said I turned in my parents and all I got was this lousy t-shirt, and I've been wanting one since I saw it like 20 years ago. At some point, a viral video allegedly proved that the beg buttons at crosswalks are just placebos. Some of them are, but most of them really do add a cycle for pedestrians to get a walk signal. You should use them regardless. In NYC they are placebos. The lights are either controlled by simple timing logic or by doctor limit traffic congestion. Out in the suburbs, they actually work. There are a few lights around where I live that will not turn green unless there is a vehicle present. They use a sensor to detect when a vehicle is waiting. My motorcycle does not trigger the sensor. So I hop off and press the crosswalk button and hop back on. It triggers a green light. They use a sensor to detect when a vehicle is waiting. If anyone is curious as to what these are, they're called induction loops. They're metal loops that they embed into the asphalt, and use passive conductance as the sensor. We used to run into issues a lot when biking in Pittsburgh. We'd have to politely ask cars to pull ahead of us at a stoplight in order to trigger a green. Anything about MSG? I battle with my health-conscious wife about this often. Edit, too much of anything is bad for you. I still don't understand the demonization of MSG, king of flavor. Fuio. Without MSG you food as flavorless as Uncle's sex life with Auntie Helen. Sorry children. Still blows my mind that people think the earth is flat. Honestly, what reason would world governments have to hide the shape of the earth? Also, how would they possibly keep the millions of people silent that they'd need to? I work in a restaurant and the second anything happens, everybody knows it. There is a mathematical model that is able to predict if a conspiracy may be true or not by looking at the number of people that may be involved in keeping it a secret. Edit, found the study that humans only use 10% of their brain. This is false, regardless of how those who proclaim this myth seemingly demonstrate that it is in fact true. I had a health teacher in school who told us once it's probably okay to actually drink during pregnancy because chances are the brain damage will happen to the 90% of the brain humans don't use, so it won't have any effect on the baby. He proved this by talking about some woman he knew who drank during pregnancy, and one of her sons is a student in the gifted program and the other one is an idiot. The gifted student got lucky and got brain damage to the unused 90%. Just WTF. You don't become a health teacher by studying medicine now. In our high school, health teacher was a volunteer position filled by the history teacher. I still believe that if any of my limbs hang off the bed while sleeping that a monster will grab them. I also believe that the moment I remember this and pull them back on the bed is just in the nick of time before a monster grabs them. You can't prove there isn't a monster under my bed. I think you've misinterpreted the op. What you listed is just a fact.